Located just east of Bali in Indonesia, Lombok is an island that often gets overlooked by travelers, but it has so much to offer. From stunning waterfalls hidden in lush forests and the dramatic landscapes surrounding Mount Rinjani to crystal clear waters, white sand beaches, and incredible diving and snorkeling spots. Lombok has a bit of everything. Compared to Bali, it feels much more relaxed and less crowded, making it the perfect destination for those looking to experience Indonesia's natural beauty at a slower pace. Whether you're into adventure, nature, or simply enjoying beautiful coastal scenery, Lombok has something for everyone, including delicious local food. For this trip, we spent 8 days exploring the island by rental car. Starting in Tetebatu, we traveled through Sembalun and Bangsal, crossed to Gili Trawangan Island, and finished our journey in Kuta before flying back. After arriving in Lombok, we picked up our rental cars and began our journey towards Tetebatu, a small village nestled in the foothills of Mount Rinjani. The drive took around an hour and a half and gave us our first glimpse of the island's landscapes. While the main roads were generally in good condition, the final stretch became much narrower as we entered the countryside. Our home for the next 2 nights was the Alam Bungalow and Restaurant. Surrounded by rice fields and tropical greenery, it felt like the perfect place to begin our Lombok adventure. After checking in and having lunch, we spent the rest of the day simply enjoying the peaceful surroundings. One of the things we immediately loved about Tetebatu was how peaceful it felt. Away from the crowds, the village offered a chance to slow down and reconnect with nature. We spent the afternoon exploring the nearby paddy fields, listening to the sounds of nature, and taking in the beautiful scenery around us. The friendly staff and tranquil atmosphere made it a wonderful introduction to Lombok. On our second day in Lombok, we headed out to explore the famous Benang Stokol and Benang Kalambu waterfall area, a collection of waterfalls hidden within the island's lush rainforest. What we didn't realize at first was that there were actually 4 waterfalls connected by a jungle trail. Wanting to see them all, we hired a local guide for 200,000 Indonesian rupiah per person and began our trek through the rainforest. The first stop was Benang Stokol Waterfall, easily accessible and beautiful. It attracts many visitors, especially during holiday periods. Although it was quite busy when we arrived, it was still a beautiful start to our waterfall adventure. Leaving the crowds behind, we followed our guide deeper into the jungle. There wasn't really an easy walking path here. This was simply the way to reach the waterfalls. We made our way down through the rainforest, walking along narrow, uneven trails surrounded by trees. It felt more like a proper jungle trek. After around 20 minutes of hiking downhill through the rainforest, we reached Kilvan Waterfall, a hidden gem tucked away in the forest. There was nobody else around, which made it feel even more special. This ended up being our favorite spot of the entire trip, and we spent some time taking photos and simply enjoying the beautiful surroundings and the super cold water. We continued along the trail, and after a short walk, we reached the third one called Siseo Waterfalls. Tucked away within the lush rainforest, there was another beautiful stop on the trek. Seeing it from above gave us a completely different perspective and really showed just how stunning this part of Lombok is. The final stop was Benang Kelambu Waterfall. Getting there meant another hike through the jungle, following narrow forest trails and even crossing a small river along the way. The walk itself felt like part of the adventure, with lush greenery surrounding us the entire time. When we finally arrived, Benang Kelambu was absolutely worth it. As one of the most famous waterfalls in Lombok, it was also quite busy with visitors. Unlike a typical waterfall, the water flows gently through layers of vegetation, creating a natural curtain effect. Despite the crowds, it's easy to see why it's considered one of the most photogenic and unique waterfalls on the island. After several hours of hiking and waterfall chasing, we returned to Tetebatu and spent the rest of the evening enjoying the quiet and peaceful surroundings of our stay. On day 3 of our Lombok adventure, our next destination was Sembalun, a mountain village located in the foothills of Mount Rinjani. Although the distance from Tetebatu was only around 52 kilometers, the journey took more than 2 hours as the road gradually climbed into the mountains. As we arrived in Sembalun, it was easy to see why so many people loved this place. Surrounded by rolling hills and beautiful mountain scenery, it's one of the most picturesque areas in Lombok. Most people know Sembalun as the gateway to Mount Rinjani, where many trekking adventures begin. But the valley itself is just as impressive, with colorful farmland stretching as far as the eye can see. Locals grow everything from vegetables to the famous red rice, and even coffee thrives here, thanks to the cool mountain climate. We arrived in Sembalun around midday and grabbed some lunch before setting off on an ATV adventure. It was a lot of fun and a great way to explore the area. Riding through the countryside gave us a chance to see parts of Sembalun we probably wouldn't have seen otherwise, with amazing views of the surrounding mountains and farmland along the way. We stopped at Bukit Silong to check out the view, and it definitely didn't disappoint. From the top, we could see colorful fields spread across the valley below. It was a great spot to take a few photos and just enjoy the scenery for a while. We also stopped to learn a bit about the local Sasak culture, including a demonstration of a traditional Sasak house and the way people in Lombok have lived for generations. After that, we went into the jungle and had some fun riding the ATVs through the mud. By the end of the day, we checked into our accommodation and took it easy for the evening. After all the activities, it was nice to relax, enjoy the mountain views, and finish the day with some delicious local food. The next day was an early start. At around 3 a.m., we left our accommodation and met up with our two guides before making our way to the start of the Pergasingan Hill sunrise trek. With our headlamps on and the rest of Sembalun still asleep, we set off into the darkness and began the climb. Although Pergasingan Hill isn't nearly as high as Mount Rinjani, the climb was much more challenging than we expected. Much of the trail was steep and at times it felt more like climbing uphill than simply walking. As we slowly gained elevation, the lights of Sembalun began to disappear below us while the outline of the surrounding mountains gradually emerged in the distance. After more than 2 hours of hiking, we finally reached the summit at around 6 am. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't on our side that morning, and thick clouds covered both the surrounding views and the sunrise itself, so we never actually got to see the sun. It was also pretty cold at the top, which wasn't surprising given the altitude and early morning start. Even so, it was still a great experience. Our friendly guides prepared breakfast for us at the summit, and we spent some time enjoying the peaceful atmosphere and mountain surroundings before heading back down. The hike down was no easier than the climb up, with some steep sections that needed a bit of extra care. As the clouds started to clear, we were finally treated to some beautiful views over Sembalun Valley, with its colorful farmland stretching out below. One of our guides was Mr. Hercules, who seemed to be a bit of a local celebrity. He leads emergency rescue operations on Mount Ranjani. Along the way, several people recognized him and asked to take photos with him. In a funny twist, a few local kids wanted photos with Ani too. Our other guide, Budi, was also incredibly friendly and helpful throughout the trek. He had actually been our guide on the ATV ride the day before as well. By the time we reached the bottom, our legs were definitely feeling it, but it had been a memorable hike from start to finish. We also wanted to give a shout out to Agus, the owner of Sembalun Adventure. He was super friendly, helped us out with an issue we had with our rental car, and even gave us some free coffee powder. If you're visiting Sembalun, we definitely recommend checking out Sembalun Adventure and their restaurant, Balenta Cafe. After checking out from Sembalun, we started the drive towards Bangsal, where we'd be spending the night before heading to Gili Trawangan the next day. Even though the distance was only about 85 kilometers, the journey took around 2 hours and 45 minutes along narrow roads with some beautiful scenery along the way. We also made a quick stop at a black sand beach before continuing on. By the evening, we arrived in Bangsal, checked into our accommodation, and enjoyed a good dinner. The next morning, we headed to Bangsal port to catch our boat to Gili Trawangan. After a short journey of around 25 minutes, we arrived at our next destination. Located just off the northwest coast of Lombok, the Gili Islands consist of 3 small tropical islands, Gili Trawangan, Gili Meno, and Gili Air. During our trip, we chose to stay on Gili Trawangan, the largest and most developed of the 3 islands. Despite being the busiest, it still retains a relaxed tropical atmosphere, with beautiful beaches, crystal clear waters, and a wide range of restaurants, cafes, and accommodation options. The island is also well known for its vibrant marine life and easy access to some of the best snorkeling and diving spots in the region. One of the most unique things about this island is that there are no motorcars or motorbikes on the island. Most people either walk, cycle, or use the traditional horse-drawn carts. Since our accommodation was less than a kilometer from the harbor, we decided to walk. After the challenging hike to Pergasingan Hill the day before, we decided to take things much slower for today. Just a relaxed day to enjoy the island at our own pace. Annie also wasn't feeling her best that day, so taking it easy felt like the right thing to do. We spent most of the day around the resort, relaxing by the pool, taking a dip now and then, and going for short walks along the beach. The next day it was finally time to go scuba diving. Since I hadn't been diving for a while, I did a refresher course before the dive, while Ani joined the Discover Scuba Diving program for her first ever scuba experience. Then we made our way to Shark Point dive site. We spent about 53 minutes underwater exploring the reef and checking out the marine life. The dive was full of colorful coral, fish of different shapes and sizes, sea turtles, sharks, and plenty of other fascinating marine life. After the dive, we spent the rest of the day just relaxing by the beach, grabbing some good food, and enjoying the slow pace of island life. After spending 2 memorable days on Gili Trawangan Island, it was time to return to Lombok and continue our journey towards Kuta, where we plan to spend the final days of our trip. After collecting our rental car from Bangsal Port, we began the journey south towards Kuta. The drive covered around 75 kilometers and took roughly 2.5 hours, including a few stops along the way, one of which was for some fresh durian. By the evening, we arrived in Kuta and checked into our accommodation. The place was in a great location, not far from Mandalika beach and surrounded by plenty of greenery. Later that evening, we headed to Mandalika beach to check out the area. The beach was busy, with plenty of people out enjoying the evening and watching the sunset. After spending some time there, we grabbed dinner and headed back to our accommodation. For our final full day in Lombok, we decided to try something completely new: surfing. We headed to Silong Belanak Beach, one of Lombok's most popular beaches for beginner surfers, where we joined a surfing lesson and learned the basics from our instructors. After a short introduction on the beach, it was time to head into the water and put our new skills to the test. After the session, we spent some more time at the beach, enjoying the waves and relaxing by the shoreline. Later that evening, we headed to Bukit Merese, one of the most famous sunset viewpoints in southern Lombok. After a short walk up the hill, we were rewarded with sweeping views of the coastline, rolling green hills, and the vast Indian Ocean stretching into the distance. As the sun slowly began to set, the landscape transformed into a beautiful mix of golden light and dramatic colors. It was a peaceful and unforgettable moment, and the perfect way to spend our final evening in Lombok. Finish the day, we enjoyed one final dinner before returning to our accommodation. And just like that, our Lombok trip comes to an end. Over the past 8 days, we've explored waterfalls, mountains, islands, beaches, and so many beautiful places across the island. Every part of Lombok had something unique to offer, and we genuinely had an amazing time here. One thing we have to mention is the people. We've been coming to Indonesia for years and have visited quite a few different places. And honestly, the people are always kind and welcoming. But in Lombok, everyone we met was incredibly friendly, helpful, and genuinely nice. It's something that really made this trip even more special for us. Thanks so much for joining us on this journey. If you're thinking about visiting Lombok, we definitely recommend it. See you in the next adventure, and thanks for watching.